It was nice to play a sport that was, with a mix of people and from all different walks of life as well. This year we're back up to 10 teams, and over the last 2 years we've had 2 brand new development teams. Hopefully the next step is to try and push a bit more of our single-sex games, because I know that we, for the first time last year, the guys and the girls went away separately as teams to take on the guys and girls teams from across the UK. If anything, that social level is where the girls and boys can play together. There's not many sports that will do it. To have a good turnout, not just from people who've never played before. We had some people who have played years ago and just went, do you know what, I found my glove, I'm coming up. We've had people from outside the island who've played either baseball or they've played rounders and they want to do something a little bit different. They came up with either themselves or with a partner, so it's great that they have a sport that they can do as a partnership or as well as just wanting to do it on your own.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Sportscast Jersey. Today we are joined by Chris Halford, the president of Jersey Softball. How are you doing, Chris?
Yeah, very well. Thank you very much, and thanks for inviting me on to your podcast.
Good to have you. I kind of want to go right back to the start with you and softball. And how were you first introduced to the sport? Do you remember the first time you saw it or you played it?
Yes, I've got really good memories of it. I didn't really know what to expect. I got invited by one of my work colleagues at the time, and he still plays softball, and I came to just sort of fill in a gap whilst they were short of a few of people for a few weeks. Ended up playing for a little bit longer. The team were Flyers back then, and I helped out in the outfield. I had no idea what I was doing, and I seemed to pick it up quite naturally. And this was early 2000s, and I played on and off for a couple of years, just filling in the gaps. And then my life changed outside of that, and softball was not a thing that was possible. But I remember that first game, and I think that when I had that break and then I came back to it, I always remembered it as being, a great fun sport. Loads of great people. The mere fact that it was mixed, between guys and girls was always a good element, because the social cycle of it worked really nicely. Is that it wasn't just guys. I played loads of guys' sports, played football and rugby. It was nice to play a sport that was, with a mix of people and from all different walks of life as well. Whether you had influential backgrounds or you had people who came from nothing. Anybody could play it, and the great people you met along the way was a real pull and a draw, and probably a reason why I'm still playing now.
Yeah, definitely. And you touched on a bit about what the sport is, obviously the mixed side of things, but in terms of softball and people who might not have watched it or don't know much about it, can you give us what the sport is in a kind of nutshell, in a kind of dummy's description of the sport?
I think a lot of people, as much as softballers hate it, is some people liken it to rounders. I guess it's that middle sort of ground game between softball and baseball, but softball is kind of more like baseball than it is rounders. It's just played with a larger ball, which is not soft, contrary to belief or the name of the ball, and it's generally a smaller diamond than baseball. So you've got 2 teams, generally 10 either side. You can have a few extras that would play as maybe extra batters, but 10 fielding on a team, mixed between 5 guys, 5 girls. And you'd each take your turn in batting the ball and fielding the ball and trying to get 3 outs or try and score as many runs as you can by running around the diamonds. I guess the biggest thing we find people who've just come from a rounders background is that they run across the base and they think they're safe, and then they get caught out and they're like, what have I done? So yeah, that could be a bit of a transition for people. But essentially we've got the same parameters but slightly different for our corporate league games, because we play corporate games on our weekday evenings, and it's slightly watered down for people who don't take softball as seriously, or might not necessarily get on with it as well, because there are quite a lot of rules in softball as well as there would be in baseball, not so much in rounders, that we try to make it a bit more. Some of the people who aren't intricate, people who aren't as competitive, can still come along, have a bit of fun, play with their work colleagues, and then have a social drink at the end of the evening if needs be it, or something to talk about at the end of the season, which has grown and grown since we've started it.
Yeah, amazing. We'll come more onto the leagues in a bit as well and discuss both the corporate and the competitive kind of sides to it. But in terms of Jersey, you said you started early 2000s, and it how long has it been in Jersey, and how long has the club been going, or the sport, I
So
guess?
softball's been going now for this is its 31 years of softball this year. So last year we celebrated 30 years. So we tried to do a bit. We got a tournament which started the season off where we had teams from the UK coming across to Jersey. We had some local teams, some mixed match people, just to have a bit of fun and get that going. And through the year, we tried to do as much as we could to try and celebrate and highlight what we've done over the last 30 years. But softball in general, though, has been going and playing since like the late 1800s. So it has been going for, just shy of 140 years. So we've been playing it for a small percentage of that. But I think we've achieved a lot to still be a sustainable sport in today's world, with over 300 members. It's been great. And like I said, 31 years isn't something to be sniffed at. Some people have never realised that we play sport. We will play softball. So we've been trying to get ourselves out and talked about as much as possible so that people can find our sport and come and join in on the fun. It sounds a bit of a cliche thing to say, but it is. We'd love more people to come and see how much of an enjoyable sport it is. And the fact that we will probably talk about it in a bit, like you say, but the younger players this year have been more involved in the sport than ever before. But we've catered for 14 years and above for a long time. It's just encouraging 14-year-olds at that level to come in and play games can be quite unnerving. If you think you get a 14, 15-year-old who comes along to play, and then all of a sudden you're up against a 25-year-old who's super quick, can dive all over the place, knows exactly what they're doing, it can put you off. So having that younger element to the sport to nurture them into that realms. We want the ones that we're teaching now at an early age to be the future of the sport. And I think that's really important, to be able to get another 30 years down the line when I may not be playing. I dare say I won't be playing. But I still want to be able to go to watch softball when I can't play anymore. And that's not just me, but all of the exec committee and all the committee members, and hopefully all the players as well.
Yeah, definitely, and yeah, it's great to see that the youngsters and just hearing how many people are involved in the sport's amazing. But as you say, you play yourself, and obviously I've got mates who do it, so I can see there's an indoor and outdoor kind of league as well. What do you prefer personally? What do you prefer, the indoor league or outdoor?
It's a tough one because I think they both have something really valuable in their own individual rights. Indoor is like really fast paced. It's quick. Anything can happen. There's no, even if somebody who plays outdoors in the summer league doesn't feel like they're as competitive as they want to be, all of a sudden in indoor can be one of the better players because you can't predict what's going to happen. So there is that element of it being sort of very fast paced, a bit crazy, and you definitely work up a bit of a sweat on the indoor side of things. But I think as you get a little bit older, you suddenly start realizing how much indoor can have an impact on your body, especially your knees when you're diving around on hard floors like that. And it's just not very forgiving. But it is really, really fun. Whereas outdoor, you've got the grass, so sliding's easier. You use more time to the game. Obviously, everything's done at a bigger pace, so you can take your time a little bit more. I think I prefer outdoor. I think that's because where my love for it was. But indoor holds a place for people who don't want to not have softball in their life during the winter.
Yeah.
It's a sad place for a softballer when there isn't indoor. And for a while, we didn't have it, and we reintroduced it back again a number of years ago. And we still yield as many teams as we have done previously, because we know that not everybody wants to play it indoor. That's absolutely fine. And other people do have dual sports where they'll come and play for us in the summer and they do something else in the winter. But we've got, it's definitely a growing thing. We've now got, as of the end of this year, when we start our indoor league, we'll have a split division. So we're going to go into Division 1 and Division 2, like we do with outdoor, because we have the teams and we have that ability to have that split now. So, and it should make it competitive for the teams who want to be competitive, and the teams who are just for a bit of fun and to have a laugh can still be in their own division and potentially win their division. Without feeling like they have to turn up just to win all the time. So they both have their fun sides. I think I just edge towards outdoor.
Definitely. And you literally answered my next question, is in terms of how good is it to have that indoor option in the winter to keep that going, to keep the buzz around softball going. So no, it's really good to have the option, and just to see that it goes all the way through the year as well, not just for the summer. The next kind of question is about the leagues. We kind of touch on it. There's numerous different leagues all the way through the year, and they're all good socially for different reasons, but there's one more competitive and one corporate, more social league. So talk to us about the growth of those and how happy you are to see how many teams and people are getting involved in the sport.
I think maybe about I was president and I took over just under 5 years ago. So by the time I come up to the end of this year, it'll be my 5th year. We seem to, I don't know if the team numbers have dropped. They had done, because when I first started, I think it was about 14 teams. And some teams by a couple of years ago after COVID, we were struggling to get enough to create 2 divisions. So we ended up just doing 1 division. And that meant that the teams that shouldn't have been playing, the Division 1 teams, were having to go up against them. And as much as it's a game and it's experience, it isn't always fun when you're a team that doesn't dominate and you lose, and potentially by a large margin. So it was good to get our numbers back up. So this year we're back up to 10 teams. And over the last 2 years, we've had 2 brand new development teams who have started out of nothing. And we've managed to get some funding through our community funding projects, which that's been the big game changer for us, is financially. It's when you're a non-profit and you don't make money and you're not there for that purpose, trying to make these things happen becomes very, very hard. So I've been quite lucky to have some really good people on my team to help us put these things in place. But corporate, again, it's another one. If we had the ability to have more pitches, we could potentially be bringing in more. So I think we've had originally, we had the idea of about 12 or 13 teams for corporate, but we can't, with the facilities we've got, cater for that. But it's things we want to be able to try and progress. We don't want to have a limit to our sport. We want to be able to find a way that if 15 teams wanted to play, we can cater for it. And the same with our summer league. We obviously share the grounds with other sports outside of what we do, albeit we're at the kind of a for the majority of the summer, we still have football that comes in September. So we have to try and cram in as much as we can before we have to give the fields back up for pitches to be put down for other sports. So we'd love to. So I know that if I could have the money to do it now, I would find an area where we would have enough for 4 pitches. We could have sole use of it. We'd probably play multiple times a week. It would easily jump from being a good sport to an incredibly great sport. Is it wishful thinking? I mean, some people could say it is, but I think given time and the finances, like maybe some other sports have had previously, is we could do that. But where we are now is definitely where we were previously. I felt like we might have been, things were slowing, and I think we've now sort of picked up the pace a little bit and introduced a lot more to what we've got. And hopefully the next step is to try and push a bit more of our single sex games, because I know that we, for the first time last year, the guys and the girls went away separately as teams to take on the guys and girls teams from across the UK. So yeah, it's building. It takes a lot of time and dedication, and it's not just me that has to give up a lot of time. Every person on the committee has to give up their time as well. So I'm always mindful of not taking too much, because people will then go, "Ah, I can't do this anymore." I get that feeling. I've felt it for a long time. I feel like you do too much sometimes, but without that original input, it's never going to go anywhere. So
yeah,
where we are now is in a really good place, and continuing to grow.
yeah.
The future is very bright.
Yeah, I agree, and I think facilities crops up with a lot of the podcasts I do with a lot of the people I talk about. So it's not wishful thinking at all. It's just something that you kind of need, and kind of need that backing as well to go and grow that sport. One question I did want to ask before we move on to what you're doing at the moment is, in terms of the corporate, do you see people move from that league think, oh, I really do love this, and then they join a team in the competitive league?
Yeah, definitely. Originally, when it was set up by a chap called Frank, he took the reins really into making it not just for corporate teams, but also to feed into the summer league, and that has always done that. We've always managed to find some people who have been quite keen to carry on playing. I came back through the corporate league. When I first got a chance, I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I remember softball. Yeah, no, a great opportunity too." And with my workplace mixed with another workplace, we got a team together, and that the rest is history. So yeah, it's been a really good feeder. And in fact, the last two development teams we've had start and are now into the leagues itself, they've had corporate players who have gone, "I want a bit more," which is great. We're not expecting everybody to. We know that for some it is. Corporate is their love. It's once a week on a Wednesday. It doesn't interrupt with their lives too much, and they get to do it with their work friends. So it's never going to fully take the full feeder into it, but it gets enough of an interest. It gets people talking about it.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it's a great idea, and you see it across different sports, but especially for sport maybe that people don't know as well as other sports, it's a really good opportunity for them to get a taster of it.
Yeah.
I want to go into something that you're doing at the moment. You've Jersey youth softball. I saw a post about that the other week. Talk to us about those sessions, and you kind of touched on it before when you were saying it, it's important to start them kind of young and help them train them up from a young age, and to start to love the sport from that young age. How important is that to start them at that age, and also to see the development of some of the players as well?
Yeah, I think it's pivotal for any sport, really. And if it wasn't important for kids to go to school and learn stuff for the future, they wouldn't do it. In the same way, if we can't get them whilst they're young, they will find something else. We know that there's rugby, football, netball, the obvious sports that have been played for decades, and feed people through. So it is important for us to get through that. So I'll say cricket as well, because otherwise we'll find cricket friends telling me you didn't say cricket. But yeah, so I think it is really important to get into to schools and introduce it to kids. If it's not for anything else, it's great for things like hand-eye coordination, playing with others. There's loads of those core skill levels where they can start gradually working through as they go through. If anything, that social level is where the girls and boys can play together. There's not many sports that will do it. I know in primary schools, my little one plays, she's been playing a few little sports, and they all play it together, which is brilliant. But at some stage, they then split off into, right, boys over there, girls over there, and that seems to be the natural sort of way. Whereas with softball, you don't. And last year, something that I've wanted to do. It was on when I first started, I had a list of things that I wanted to achieve before I finished, and that was to try and somehow get into schools and get them to come out the other side of school and become players for the JSA. And last year we managed to get there through some funding from our charity grant fund. And we managed to get not just our development side sorted for the summer league and into some corporate teams, but also we put the money towards the kit and the investment in time, really, and pitch fees, that all costs. So we managed to put that into the youth trials. We thought, we'll give it a go. We'll see if we can hold a number of sessions. They were free to come and play. We had all the kit, and the kids just needed to come along and just pick up a ball. We'd show them the rest. Yeah. And that was way more successful than I think we thought, especially our first night when we turned up and where they're sitting thinking we're doing risk assessments, we're coming up with plans, especially the youth coaches, trying to plan what they're going to do for the night. Well, what if we have 5 people turn up? What if we get 10 people? What if we get 100? You can't sit there and work out every eventuality. So when we turned up, I'm sure there was over 50 kids, off the top of my head, that were able to come along, pick up a glove. In fact, there was sometimes we don't have enough kit, and things were changing, and we were like, this is brilliant. And as much as we're like, we didn't have this, it was like, but look how many kids turned up. This is brilliant. Yeah. So we all got that lovely, good buzz feeling. That's what we wanted, and that's when the ball started rolling with like, right, well, let's do this next year. As far as league goes for the youth so far, we've thought, well, we don't want to think about leagues just yet because we need to get enough people for teams together. So we've kind of gone, we're going to do some youth training sessions, then we're going to do some games between the teams that we have there or those that have turned up. And last year we said we'll look at doing secondary school kids, because we knew that we'd managed to get the majority of the secondary schools playing a bit of softball, albeit it tended to be, for the majority, it was just the boys playing. So we needed to try and work out that we didn't want the girls feeling like they were not part of it. So that was a big thing. We wanted to make sure that the girls could come along and learn as well. And hopefully the schools will start realising that they've got some talent in that and can play as well. So we now introduce it to 10 plus rather than at secondary school. It gives 10-year-olds who are going to go into year 6 at primary an opportunity to learn some core basics before they even get to secondary. And we can also help integrate those with some other people, other kids that they may well be going into secondary school with. So they're going to start seeing faces from people rather than turn up and only know their friends from the previous school or from a party somewhere. Is they can go, I've seen you at softball. So it's a bit of a win-win for a lot of people, and it's been flagged up by some parents already that say that they think it's a great idea. So we've now split from juniors to seniors. So we've now got the younger softballers that are going to be 10 to 13, and then 13 to 16 is where we're looking at for the seniors. And then hopefully, because you can play from 14, if there's any one of those that stand out, or we can say, would you like to? They can. And again, all the way through that, once they get up to, to 17, they still play under the youth side of our softball rulings that we have to make sure to prevent them from harm, like anyone else does. But then they get to 18 and they're, fully fledged adult and play in the leagues as per anyone else would. So that's what we want to try and see now. And it, as much as we see youth is at the bottom of our stepping stones to the island squad, you've got to start somewhere. And we hope that by training some of the people, we can get them noticed. And it's not just from us. There's players now. We've got a few players that are looking at NSL, National League softball in the UK. So they're going away to play tournaments at a national level. So we want more of that. We know that there's talent over here. It's just that we've not necessarily had the opportunities that places outside of our island have had. Our softballing colleagues in Guernsey will know exactly what I mean by that. They've had these parameters in for longer. Again, you can't put a comparison between the two because each have had different paths in life, and theirs started earlier. They had different options than we had, and we're doing things differently our way, trying to to get that way, and try and, I won't say necessarily catch up, but they've got a lot of their younger squad who have been seen by Team GB and other National League teams, and we'd like to give our Islanders the chance to do that as well.
Yeah.
So from the youth, where it starts.
Yeah. It's amazing, really. Like even in the last 20 minutes or so, we've talked about softball in terms of a brilliant social sport, but then here we can see where it can actually lead them as well. So there's loads of opportunities within the sport. And one thing I do want to touch on quickly is on the weekend you had an open day for adults. How important are those kind of open days? And I saw there's current players there teaching, encouraging, and supporting them. How important is it to show off the kind of social feel good side and having these open days for newbies that want to start?
Yeah, that's really important. It's quite a big step going into a sport that you've maybe never played before and committing. To go, I want you to play every Sunday for the next 4 months during the whole of the summer. And you go, whereas at least this gives people the opportunity. I remember years ago, one of my close friends from family years ago, who was a former president, used to host these as well. And I remember going along to one and seeing how it went. And I think I was part of the JSA when I first started back then. And I thought it was brilliant that people could come along and have a little go. It has been some time since we've done one of these.
Yeah.
So it was quite strange to start thinking, well, what's it going to be like? How many people are going to turn up? Are we going to get anybody? So to have a good turnout, not just from people who've never played before. We had some people who have played years ago and just went, do you know what? I found my glove. I'm coming up. Yeah. We've had people from outside the island who've played either baseball or they've played rounders and they want to do something a little bit different. They came up with either themselves or with a partner. So it's great that they have a sport that they can do as a partnership or as well as just wanting to do it on your own.
Yeah.
But also equally, it was really good that our current members came up to support it as well, just to maybe not necessarily play, but to help put things together, to get the kit out, to pack it away, to show people the kit, what we do to protect people whilst they're playing. And yeah, everybody plays a key part, and it's not just one or two people putting it on. Yeah. That's great to say you're going to do it, but making it happen is another thing, and successfully doing it afterwards. So I think we had some good feedback from the people that turned up. We've hopefully got some future softballers out of it. I think we have for sure. And these people are going to look at going into our development team and getting the chance to play. That's where our development team is a great chance to, whether it's just to play a couple of games when you're available, or whether it's committing every single week if you love it that much. That's where the development team really comes in. And the development team this year, they've given themselves a name. They're called Tigers, and we got them a nice orange kit. We run out of colours soon because every team's got to have their own individual colour. So we got them a nice bright. People can see them now, and they're like, okay, this is where we're at. We're playing in a good team, good bunch of people, and they are really, really nice. My team played them last week, and they're a very impressive little team coming on there. They are going to put themselves in a position wherein, whether by the end of this season or towards next season, are going to be fighting for those wins. So but again, it's a starting point. We need to introduce people to the sport, and doing the open days is something that we haven't done for a little while, and that's what we need to do more of. One thing I do want to try and do, and it's something that I said to the group of people who helped out this time around, is that I love to put on something like a ladies' night. And in a nutshell, it sometimes can be quite hard for us to keep the retention of female players. And sometimes that's through, I don't know, maybe it's that they don't feel like they're getting the right support at the right time from their team, or if it's that it's too scary, or if it feels like it's quite an aggressive sport at times. So I think we need to change that ethos, is that yes, it might seem that way, But with the right training, which we can provide, there's plenty of us who are coaches, and we're happy to give up the time. And even if not the experienced players, just to show that ladies are as important to this sport as anybody else is. Yeah. And 50% of the team needs to be. So we need to sort of go, look, this is a sport that is pivotal for your ability to play. How can we keep you? How can we make it something that you feel like you're wanting to stay for the long term?
Yeah.
So all of these things do help, whether it's open days for everybody, or we try and specifically do stuff like we did, for the youth and so on and so forth. So it's just trying to fine tune where we're at, then build on top of that and see where we go. Just little layers, one top of the other.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the unique thing about your sport, as you've touched on a lot, is how it is 50-50, how it is men and women playing together as one team. And I think it really is a good aspect of the game. And the last two kind of points, I'll put them into one, is if people are listening to this and they thought, okay, yeah, I'll give this a go. I like the sound of this. How much would you encourage them to start the sport, and how can they get in contact and find out more?
I think the first thing is, if somebody maybe likes the idea of it from what we've spoken about, but still isn't sure what softball is like, go to YouTube or whatever. There's so many platforms now that show videos, and search for slow pitch softball. There's two variants. So you've got fast pitch, which is normally played at quite high competitive level, and it's mostly in America or Canada and places like that. But we play the slow pitch version, which is the underarm throw. So it's the pitch is slower. It's done at an arc rather than a flat level. So people search for slow pitch softball. They'll find plenty of things videos or clips. We've even got our own Jersey Softball YouTube page, where we were putting up games that we've previously played. So you can see us in action and get a feel of it from there. That only gives you half of that feeling. The best feeling is when you're actually there and you're playing it. And that one time where you don't think you're going to do well, or you haven't got the confidence in yourself, and you hit a ball and it just goes exactly where it's needed to be, and it's that pivotal game-changing run or something like that, and your whole team comes running around and cheering. You can't picture that in a video or a clip. You kind of got to be there. So I'd suggest on Sundays when we're playing, we've got a schedule on our website, is to come up and just either pitch one or pitch two up at the Kenneveigh around the cycle track. You can't miss us if you come past the cycle track. Just come and have a watch. There's benches. You can stop and watch for as long as you want. Come and say, you'll find that if you spoke to anybody who's up there, they're all a friendly bunch of people and would tell you about it. It might even be an opportunity to pick up a glove and have a little throw by the sidelines whilst waiting. But those are the best ways to find out more about the sport. But obviously online you can get in touch with us. If people want to directly contact me, there's an email address, president@jerseysoftball.com. That'll go to me and Lindsay, who's my vice president. So we'll both get that. If you're the sort of person who wants to just find out a bit more, or we can forward you onto the development team. We can forward you on to the youth players, the youth coaches, if you wanted to go down that route. If your child's 10 and you want them to just get out of the house on a Friday evening, so that maybe you can go for a walk and get yourself some fresh air. I think we do an hour and a half, I'm pretty sure, from the Kenneveigh to Corbière and back along the cycle track on a nice little summer's evening. Could be something you might like. So yeah, just get in touch however you want to find out more, and we'll happily either give you the answers you want, or we'll put you in touch with the right person to help you out from there.
Yeah. Amazing, Chris. Amazing. This has been so good, and it's been good for me. Obviously, I've been up to watch it, and I think it's a brilliant sport to watch, let alone play. So, I'd encourage anyone to give it a go and get into contact. But yeah, thank you for coming on today, and thank you for your time.
Thanks very much for letting us join you today. Superb.
Brilliant. Thank you as well to anyone that's watched or listened to this episode. Another episode of Sportscast Jersey is coming soon.